my name is Chrissy Wozniak, and welcome to our webinar today, which is How Does My Website Measure Up? The webinar is brought to you by North American Ag, and it's sponsored by Focus Management. If you have any questions during the webinar, feel free to put them in the chat. And also, if you have any future webinar requests, feel free to put those in there too. I do a webinar once a month, and it's usually on a topic that I get questions about during the month. So this topic is about websites, of course, and really about auditing websites. So I'm asked to do that quite often in my day-to-day life, and I see a lot of mistakes and problems with websites. And I think there's a lot of information out there, but it's not always really clear. So we're going to go through some do's and don'ts and best practices. And so we'll just dive right in then. How does my website measure up? How to drive more leads by implementing a few simple changes. So what we're going to address today, we're going to address how to clarify your message. Your message is very important. And a lot of times your company's message on their website is unclear or confusing. So we're going to go through that. We're going to go through some homepage guidelines, what should and should not be on your homepage, what's important and what's not. We're going to go through mobile site optimization and why that's very important. We're going to go through what kind of content, where you should put your content, and when you should put your content on your website, and how to make your site work best if you have distributors. I know in agriculture, a lot of companies have distributors, and they need to optimize that website for those distributors. And I see a lot of mistakes in this area. We're going to talk about how your site can be part of your sales process and maybe make some of your administrative processes a little bit easier. I'm also going to give you some SEO pointers and analytics and what matters most, what you should be looking at, what you should be paying attention to. And we're going to talk about collecting email addresses on your website as well. So I'm going to start with some common myths. So one thing I hear all the time is once you have a website up and running, people will visit it. This is not true. So people won't know about your website. It's there, it's in space. And what I usually tell people and relate it to is making your business card, making it beautiful and sending it off to the printer, it coming in, you opening up that box, look at your business card and go, wow, this is a nice business card. And then closing the box and sticking it in your desk drawer. Nothing is going to happen in business with your business card in your desk drawer, right? So just launching a website, just, making it go live isn't going to do anything to drive people to that site. That's a huge myth that I hear all the time. Another myth is after launching your website, you can leave it alone. So I know a lot of people just take a big sigh of relief once their project is done and once the website is live, but you definitely can't leave it alone. A stale website is not going to draw traffic. Another myth that I hear often is that your website is a lead generator. It is not a lead generator. Your marketing strategy and your marketing efforts and your advertising generate leads. Your website is actually one of the middle pieces in that puzzle. So it's not going to generate leads for you. It's going to process leads for you. So it's good to have that a little bit of a shift in thinking there. Another myth is the most important thing is how nice your website looks. This is also not true. It's important to have a nice looking website, a modern looking website, a responsive website. But it goes a lot deeper than that. There's your content, the quality of your content, some of the SEO tips, having it optimized for SEO, There's a lot that goes into your website. It's not just about how it looks. Another myth that I also hear is you'll top the search rankings the day, month, or even year that you launch it. This will not happen unless, you make up your own product and it has a brand new name and you're the only person with that name. That's not going to happen. And, something you can think about is imagine you could launch a product and compete with, say, John Deere, right? Well, John Deere has spent, 100 years marketing. So how fair would it be for you to be able to walk into the ag scene and your site beats them in Google search results after the millions and millions and millions of dollars they've paid in SEO and advertising and everything else? It wouldn't be fair, right? So you have to play the game. You have to do your due diligence. You have to work for it to be able to get up those search rankings. So you definitely, just because you've launched a site does not mean that you're going to be number one on Google. That takes work and it takes effort. So first of all, let's talk about how to clarify your message. Having a clear message for your website is so important. And I'm going to read a couple of quotes from one of my heroes, Donald Miller, from his book, Building a Story Brand. If you want a link to this book, go to chrissywozniak.com and go to What I Should Read Next tab, and you'll find links to, a lot of my favorite books there, actually. I'm a bit of a nerd, so I love reading about business. So this here is a really great way to think about marketing and your website. Alfred Hitchcock defined a good story as life with the dull parts taken out. Good branding is the same. Our companies are complex for sure, but a good messaging filter will remove all the stuff that bores our customers and will bear down on the aspects of a brand that will help them survive and thrive. So your marketing is a story. Your website is a story, and you need to start thinking of it that way. The story brand principle: 1, the customer is the hero, not your brand. So that's a huge shift in thinking from how we normally go about creating our websites. You are not the hero. The customer is the hero. When we position our customer as the hero and ourselves as the guide, we will be recognized as a trusted resource to help them overcome their challenges. Positioning the customer as the hero in the story is more than just good manners. It's also good business. And this is so true. Here's the last one. Your website is likely the first impression a potential customer will receive about your company. It's almost like a first date. The customer simply needs to know that you have something they want and that you can be trusted to deliver what that is. So your website has to encompass that. You have something I want. I trust that you can deliver. That has to say that quickly and right away when somebody enters your website. So how to clarify your message? Define the characters in your story. So that's the very first step, is now thinking about your website as a story. Let's define who's who. So who is the hero? Of course, that's your customer. Who's the villain? Well, what's the problem that needs to be solved? And who is the guide that guides the hero to success? Well, that's you. That's the company. And how can the hero defeat the villain? This, after you answer those questions and put it together, that will be your message. So here's an example for you. So let's pretend you sell high traction flooring for barns. So who's the hero? The farmer's the hero, right? The person that owns the barn. Who's the villain? The villain are slippery floors that injure cattle. And who's the guide? Your company. Let's say it's Cattle Floor Company. So how can the hero defeat that villain? So by choosing to work with Cattle Floor Company, the producer will eliminate slippery spots in his barn that injure his cattle, right? So that's how we put it together. But now what would the message be? So the message would be slippery barn floors mean injured cows. Injured cows produce less milk. Keep your production volume from slipping with Cattle Floor Company. You will spend less time tending injuries and your milk production will increase because you've made your cows more comfortable, right? So it's short, it's to the point. It says who the characters in the story are and how you're going to help the hero rise to victory. So this is you definitely, totally, I recommend reading StoryBrand. It kind of goes through this. He talks a lot about Star Wars and Hunger Games and, you know, the parts of the story that really work together to just hook people, right? To hook and you know, who are the characters and the heroes and the guides that we love. So yeah, I highly recommend reading that if you want to get more into messaging. So next we're going to look at homepage guidelines. First thing is you need to be crystal clear. Do not confuse. So here are a couple screenshots of some websites. And this one here gets a huge fail, right? Introducing a new way to travel. Can you see what they sell? How are they? What is this new way of traveling? What is the problem they're solving? They say nothing, right? So for sure, anybody landing on this site, if they don't already know about this product, is going to be confused. How about this one? Effortlessly stay on top. When you're on top of your money, life is good. Okay, but what do you sell? We don't know, right? So you need to, as soon as you get off this webinar, go onto your website, take a look and see, look at it for the first time as if you've never seen it before. Go, do I know what I sell if I just land on this homepage? Here's another example. Business solutions that help you grow, right? And then listen to this terrible next sentence. Leverage agile frameworks to provide a robust synopsis for high-level overviews. Iterative approaches to corporate strategy. Okay, those are just words. That doesn't mean anything. Don't use jargon. Get rid of it. Don't use big words. Try to keep it as simple as possible so that people don't get bored halfway through the sentence. They want to know quickly, how is this going to help me? And here's one that I think is terrible. Experts of wine since 1990. So they're positioning themselves as the hero, right? They're the hero. You know, so, you know, take it or not, but we're the experts, right? That is not how you should be positioning yourself. You need to put that emphasis, put that that glory onto the customer, not onto yourself. So here's another one. This is an example of, you can tell what they do. They say exactly what they do. This one doesn't really say how it benefits. They could do a little bit more work on that, but there's some elements in this homepage which are good. So first of all, the contact button is right up at the top. It's really obvious. That's very good. They also have a chat button here as well. So that's good. So there's two ways to contact if somebody has questions. Next, they have a clear call to action. You need a clear call to action. When somebody lands on your site, do they know what to do to buy your product or purchase your service or make an appointment? It needs to be right there. So that is really good. And then you also have to think of the big letter Z or Z, depending on if you're Canadian or American. I live in a border town, so I get it wrong all the time. I know it both ways. So anyway, so you start here. The human eye will always look at a website this way. They're going to start over here. They're going to go this way. They're going to go all the way down. And then they're going to go down to the bottom. So think about that when you look at your website. So make sure that all of those important things are within the pattern of that Z. So mobile site optimization. And this is very important because it's overlooked quite often. First of all, make sure that your site is responsive. It has to resize itself to look good on mobile. And I think there's still a few stragglers left. I think most people have made their sites responsive, but I do see some stragglers here and there. So make sure you see how your site looks on all devices. So make sure you look at it on tablet, make sure you look at it on mobile and on PC. And most situations, your website provider or your host, the person who works on your website, can likely make things hide it on mobile if it doesn't look good. So so definitely take a look at that. In 2019, 52.2% of web traffic came from mobile devices. The amount of time the average person spends consuming media on a public device or on a mobile device, daily is up to 203 minutes per day. So people are on their mobile devices and they're clicking through, if you're marketing on social media, they're clicking through to your site. It better look nice and it better be easy to use. So I thought this was interesting. This is back from October 2009, and it shows how the mobile versus desktop has actually intersected, and now we're using our mobile devices more than our desktop now. So that's interesting. It's quite close to half and half now, but I would think as we go, it's going to be more and more towards the mobile than desktop. So what about your content? What should it be? Where should it be? And when should you be posting it? So let's start with what. Well, you need clear product and service information, and you need educational content. So don't just have a running sales pitch on your website. You need to educate your potential customers and your current customers. Become a trusted advisor in your industry. You need keyword-rich content. If you're posting something on your blog and it has nothing to do with your products and your products aren't mentioned, your industry isn't mentioned, it doesn't really do a great job of SEO. So you definitely need a lot of keywords sprinkled all through your site. I had an interesting thing with a client where we were searching through, and they're in the dairy industry, and sure enough, there was not the word dairy on the entire front page. So that was a huge oversight. And really it's because when you're in the mode of manager, owner, salesperson in your company, you often don't think of the simple terms, right? You're going to think of the more complex things that you deal with every day. So just make sure that all of the simple terms are actually on your homepage and on every single page of your site. Your content should be in easy to scan chunks. Nobody is going to sit at your website and read a novel. That people just aren't like that anymore. We are in a hurry, and shoppers and people looking at your website, you can kind of visualize them as hunters, where they're not looking at every single beautiful picture you put. They want to get to the point. They want to jump. They want to attack. They want whatever makes the most sense for them, and then they want to get that over with. They want to make the purchase, and then they want to get out. So make sure everything is in very small, easy chunks that are easily digestible. Also, always put the most important information first. What you want them to see and retain, put that first, because the odds of them going right to the bottom, don't leave the best for last, because they might not make it there. Use familiar words. Do not complicate or confuse. Don't use your jargon and lingo that you guys use in the office. Use something that everybody will understand. So where should you have your content? You absolutely need a blog, news, or article page. You can call it whatever you want it to be, but you need that page, and it has to be updated frequently. That's an excellent way to update your content. You also need video content. So, there's no excuse these days. Everybody has a 4K camera pretty much in their pocket, or at least one person at your company does, or 10 people at your company do. You can easily create videos and be posting these videos. There's lots of people out there that can do video editing as well. It's something that we do as well. So yeah, that's something that you should definitely be putting money aside in your marketing budget to get video content on your site. You need to update your homepage and your product pages frequently. Make sure that Google Analytics or Google algorithms, they favor sites that are active, not stale. And when should you be posting? Google places higher priority on sites that update their content frequently. And what I was just saying, Google search results are often listed in chronological order, newest to first. So pay attention to that, even when you go and search something, if you are looking at clicking on two different things and one says 2020 and one says 2016, you're going to click the one that says 2020, right? The most relevant. So update and publish often, start monthly and then weekly. And so even when you do just update a page, you can change the publishing date to today when you update it, and that will help the algorithms pick you up as well. And here are some SEO pointers. Check your website headers for keywords. Make sure that all of your headers have some keywords for the product page, and just general industry keywords. Update your content regularly. I know I keep repeating this, but it's so very important to not let your website go stale and stagnant. Build your backlinks. So what a backlink is a link on a site with high traffic that links back to your site. And that is something that Google algorithms are always picking up. That's why for example, on North American Egg, we link back to our customers' websites because that helps them. So backlinks are very important for the integrity of your site. And repurpose your old blog posts as videos. So this is something simple. If you don't have a lot of time, you can even just use your phone, your iMovie or whatever, get some pictures and some text and take the best points out of your blog post, or have somebody read the blog post as a video and then put those on your site. And then you should be embedding videos on all pertinent pages. So if you have a video that pertains to one of your products, make sure that video is embedded on that page. Just don't keep it only on a video page. And Google owns YouTube, right? So use YouTube, right? That's all part of those algorithms. So make sure that you have videos all over the place. Also optimize for definition featured snippets. When you Google something now and it comes up with a little suggested definition, I'll show you an example here. So I had put in planting depth winter wheat, and you can see what came up was a little definition here. And then you can see where the link is. Right here, I could go straight to that page. So if you're writing things as a definition, there's a chance that Google will see that and will create that definition for you. How great would that be if you were defining industry things and it was pulling it up first on Google and recommending you as the one with the answer? So that's kind of a new thing to think about, but it's very, very important and really useful. So optimization for distributors. And I know you probably won't see something like this on a normal webinar about websites, but I used to manage distributors for many, many years. And I've learned a lot of things doing that. And first we'll go through what not to do. Do not list your distributor's contact information. I see this mistake all the time. You don't want a customer going to your website and then contacting the distributor and you not know who that person is or get any data about that person. So do not list your distributor's contact information. Do not provide email addresses on your site. Not only do bots scan for email addresses and then you get more junk mail, but it also, again, you can't measure that metric. You can't become a metric. So don't put any email address on your site. That's what contact forms are for. So don't make it difficult either for the potential customer to get in touch with the distributor. It has to be simple. It has to be easy. Optimize it for that hunter that is looking for a product quickly. So how do we do that? Here's what to do. So you need to provide a way for potential customers to easily reach the dealer and collect their information for your data. So you need to be collecting who that person is. So how you do that is you use web forms to gather the data and automate simple processes. So in most web form modules on a website, there are a lot of settings. So what you can do, I don't know on your site, obviously, but on most sites, or you can contact your host or your service provider, whoever builds your website, and look into those options. So for example, for distributors, you could have a list, contact us. They put their email address and their name, and then there's a drop down of all of your distributors. They click on one of those distributors, and based on the answer that they provide in the background, automatically you would get a copy at the manufacturer or your company. And then the person that's responsible for sales at that dealership would also get a copy of it. So now you can either manually keep that data. Now you've got a copy where you can have your salespeople follow up, or your managers follow up with the distributor, and the distributor gets it as well. The biggest reason for this is that not all distributors are going to work out. Anybody that's went and hunted for distributors, for dealers for their product, knows that some of them just don't work out. But how do you know if they're following up with those leads, right? So don't just hand over the leads to the distributors. Make sure you get that information so you can follow up. And then another thing is just make sure you give your distributors the tools that they need, right? Ask them what they need. Ask them what's hard about working with you, because odds are you can fix that. And you can go from, few measly sales to big success if you're giving your distributors, the people on the ground selling your product, give them the tools that they need. So how can your site be a part of your sales process? So your site isn't just a standalone thing, right? It doesn't just work by itself. It's part of your entire sales process, and it's something that you really need to think about. So first of all, what you need to do is sit down and list all of the steps in your sales process. Every single step, list it out on paper so you can see it. So for example, the very first step is usually curiosity. So, you have your marketing efforts are going out, and, in some cases you can actually include your marketing efforts in this, especially if you sell on Facebook or on one of those platforms that you can include that in there as well. But really the first step is curiosity on behalf of the potential customer. And from curiosity, they decide that they want to learn more about your product. So they have their first contact. So they land on your site. From there, the visitor educates themselves about your product or service. So they read what they need to read. They decide whether they might want this product or not. Education is a huge part of your website. Make sure there's a lot of education within those pages. And then a call to action, a very clear call to action. The site visitor proceeds to the next step and has decided to make a purchase or start that journey towards making a purchase. And then contact with the company. So the visitor gets in contact by following the call to action or calling the company. And it's important that they get a response as soon as possible so they don't go somewhere else. And then they make a purchase, right? So this is where it really depends on your company, and it depends on your farm. If you're selling direct to customers, say farm to table, will they be purchasing online, or do they have to contact you first to place the order? So in that situation, this would differ a little bit. So now the customer makes a purchase. and then an alert goes to the correct people. So who's next in the process? So your website can help in all of these different ways. So once you list that out, take a look at your website and see what can be changed to help all of these things make it a nice workflow from beginning to end and right until the customer satisfaction, which your website can help with that as well. So if you need help with any of this, feel free to contact me anytime, and I can help walk you through this process. The next thing you need to do after you understand what you're actually doing in your sales process is to build a system that helps that flow. Whether that's extra software that integrates with your website. There is so much software out there that will integrate and make your life easier. Pretty much if you want to have a 10-minute call with me and kind of go through some of the sticking points you have in your system, I can help you maybe fine tune a few different types of products that could help you in that. And then test it. Test that sales process multiple times. So first yourself, and then your team members, your managers, your salespeople. Try to get, even people, just, maybe a little bit further away, your distributors or your people in shipping, get them to test it several times, and then come back and then tweak what's wrong, fix it, and then test again. Even people completely outside of your industry, get them to test it. Get your, it's important to get a different perspective. You're in it every day. So sometimes when you test it, you know where to go, you know what to do. So make sure that it's simple. Can't stress testing enough. And then the next is what matters most in your analytics? What should you be paying attention to? If you've ever opened up Google Analytics and you can see 5,000 different things that you could be tracking and what is actually tracking on your website, it can get really overwhelming. And that's why I have a bit of a process. So what analytics should I track? First thing you do is look at historical. So look at your historical web traffic and see what has been happening and where people are going. Hopefully you have a way to do that. Take a look at how your 2019, 2020 sales are attributed. Where did they come from? So you need to know who is buying and how they got there. So every single time you sell something, make sure you're asking. They won't always answer, but generally people will answer, ask how they heard about you. So, and software can do this for you, right? Depending on the level of software that you need. So kind of get some data together about how these sales came to you. And then after that, you need to set meaningful goals for your company. So don't start by jumping into an analytics software. You have to decide what's important to your company first, set those goals, and then find the software that's going to help you with that. So some meaningful goal examples are general web traffic, click-through rates from marketing efforts, who's coming to your site through that, and conversion rates. So of all the traffic that's coming in, how many people are actually buying? So that's a really good number to start with. Even if those are just your first 3 goals for the next year, or even the next, do it quarterly. That's a really great way to start. And it's really important in this area, in analytics, do not overcomplicate. Only track the analytics that support your goals, right? You can briefly look and see, interest-based analytics, but really focus on what's supporting your goals. And how should you track the analytics? So choose software options that suit your needs. Google Analytics is great, although it does have a lot, right? A lot that you probably don't need. SharpSpring is another good one, and it has a CRM and marketing automation platform built in, and just as HubSpot does as well. So there are a lot of different options out there. If you need some help deciding, if you want, feel free to call me anytime, and I can talk to you about that. You also need to create automated reports that you look at monthly. Don't just set it and forget it. Never, ever, ever. You take a look, and if you have the reports coming to you automatically, it'll be a lot easier for you to just open your email and look at a report once a month. Then you'll be able to see if things are working or not, rather than waiting until the next fiscal year and reports. Don't do that. Just do it. Take a look monthly, and then that way you can make better decisions about what's working and what's not. So the last topic that we're going to go through is collecting email addresses. So you'll see these everywhere, and you might not like them, but you need to ask for email addresses on your site, right? You can see some examples here. Take 15% off. How can I help you succeed? Do you want exclusive offers, right? There are a lot of creative ways to do this. And if you really think about it, no, when you go shopping, you don't want to hand out your email address to every single store that asks for it. But there are these select companies that you do want to know when they have a sale. You do want to know, especially if they have positioned themselves as a education source. You definitely will want to know what they're doing and what's happening. So why do you need these email addresses? Email drip campaigns are a necessary part of your marketing strategy. You should be adding email drip campaigns to your strategy this year. Start in 2021. Almost everyone checks their email daily, but of course they have the power to unsubscribe. So that's a lot of power. The primary goal of a drip campaign is to attract the right people and send relevant emails to convert them into customers. Unfortunately, the sign up to receive my newsletter opt-in box, that won't cut it anymore, right? You can't just expect people are going to go, oh, gee whiz, I can't wait to get their newsletter. No, they want value. Sending subscribers emails about topics that they didn't sign up for, that's not going to work either. So how do you get email addresses? You must provide value. This is a trading system, right? So what can you give in exchange for an email address? You can give out a high value PDF. You can give a cost calculator for a product in your company that solves a problem and it's a real cost associated with it. You can give them a cost calculator. You can provide a membership. So you can create a membership within your company. And members can have exclusive benefits. You can give away swag in return for an email address. So something to think about is what is the value of an email address to me, right? Is that $5? Is it $20? Is it $50? So, think about what you would spend. Think about the emails that you do look forward to in your inbox, the ones that you do read. How did they get your email address? What did they give you in return? You can also offer draws. And to be entered into the draw, they can provide their email address for a prize. That's another way to do it as well. But whatever you do, you need to start getting these email addresses. So what is an email drip campaign? It's a way to educate your customer over time in small digestible chunks. That's the beauty of an email drip campaign, is that you're not just sending out a huge email that's 1,000 words that you expect them to read. No, it's little interesting chunks about how your product and service can make a difference in their life. And if it's high value, they're going to continue receiving it. And it's also going to help you become an advisor in your industry. And becoming a trusted advisor is what you need to do to get an advantage over your competition, right? Trust is everything. So you need to come up with a good subscriber strategy for your website immediately. And that subscriber box, there are a lot of different options. You can either have a pop-up that comes in, you can set them to come up after 20 seconds. You can set them to pop up right as somebody leaves a page, somebody enters a page. So just, play around with that and see what works best for you. Again, tweak it over and over again. And that will definitely prove results. And if it doesn't give you results, then you're not giving enough value. So now let's recap everything we have gone through today. You need to clarify your message. So take a look at your website and pretend you don't know anything about the company, or show your website to your kids. And do they understand what you sell? So clear, simple message is very important. You need to follow some solid homepage guidelines, like where your contact us field is, where your call to action is, and your message. You need to optimize your site for mobile devices because that's where people are. You need to create consistent content. You need to make your site work efficiently for your distributors without letting your leads remain anonymous. Make your site part of your sales process. So don't just have it a standalone billboard. Make it flow and help your sales process. Do everything that you can to increase your SEO. So, a lot of companies choose to hire an SEO company. Go ahead and do that if you can. If not, there are lots of things that you can do to optimize it yourself. And figure out the analytics that matter most to your company. Don't just look at a dizzying array of numbers and statistics and go, oh, that's cool. Or, oh, this doesn't look very good. Actually set goals and then reach those goals and use the analytics to help steer your company. And then collect your email addresses and start an email drip campaign. So hopefully that was helpful to all of you. I don't see any questions now. If anybody does have questions, feel free to contact me anytime. You can go to chrissywozniak.com. There are also, as I said, resources there. And my nerdy book reading page that lists a lot of the books that I really love that have really helped me through the years in agribusiness. I update that frequently, so take a look there if you'd like. And also check out NorthAmericanAg.com. That's a great resource for agriculture. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to us anytime. And thanks so much for your time today.